Every Who down in Who Newville liked the holidays a ton, but where to get great prices on gifts they had no idea. None. They searched and they searched for great gifts under $25. Gifts for spouses and friends and even their toddlers. When suddenly one Who shouted, Walmart has what you want, knowing they have Lego, Tree Hut, and no prices to flaunt. So they enjoy the holiday season as Who's often do. Cheering and shouting, Walmart has incredible gifts. Who knew? Find gifts they'll love under $25 at Walmart.
Oh, Hilton stay, your beds are soft and cozy. No lumpy couch, no stiff futon, no shower line at crack of dawn. Oh, Hilton stay.
When you want holiday comfort you can count on, it matters where you stay. Enjoy comfortable rooms and friendly service when you stay with Hilton instead. Save up to 25% this season when you book with Hilton. Hilton for the stay. Terms apply.
Before I started actually writing anything, I read The Little Drummer Girl by John le Carré, and I felt a fantastic writer as John le Carré was, and brilliant as the Smiley books were. I didn't feel that he wrote either women or Jews particularly effectively. And I had one of those moments of thinking, gosh, I could write a woman character or a Jew more effectively than John le Carré.
Welcome to the Spymasters podcast. I'm your host, Antonia Senior. My guest today is Merle Nygate. She's a novelist, screenwriter, script editor, lecturer. She's worked on BAFTA-winning TV, New York Festival-winning audio drama, and written original sitcoms. She's also the writer of brilliant contemporary spy fiction, starring Mossad's star spy runner Eli Amiram. We're here to talk about Honour Among Spies, her new book about Eli, which is set in London, where Eli is the station chief. We'll be talking Mossad, fiction, and whether there really are spies meeting on benches in the park where I walk my dog every day. It was Thriller of the Month in the Times, and it's not hard to see why. And there's a great conversation about it coming up. There's more amazing guests coming up on Spymasters too, and in the coming episodes we'll be talking about early modern spycraft and the peculiar spy-rich atmosphere of the 1930s. So don't forget to follow us and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Now I'll hand over to me, talking to Merle Nygate. Merle, thank you so much for coming on the Spymasters podcast. We're very excited to talk to you today. I thought we could start, if you could just give us a little bit of a preview of what's in your new book and sort of outline it for us, and then we'll talk from there. So tell us about the new one.
Okay. First of all, I'm delighted to have this opportunity to talk to you and talk about Honour Among Spies. It's a sequel to The Righteous Spy, and it's about Eli Amiram, who's head of Mossad's London station, and he needs an audacious operation to secure his position against a backdrop of internal politics. So there's a lot going on for him. And he comes up with a plan to sell doctored drones to the Russians. Meanwhile, there is a far-right conspiracy theorists plot going on, and which actually threatens to escalate and upset everything. So that's the two basic stories in there. Eli is compromised because in order to carry out his audacious plot, he has to betray his wife. And that's the part of the story that interested me the most.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I absolutely adore about your books, the two that I've read, the two spy ones that you've written, is that you follow in a strong tradition of being very character-led. These are human stories about people who are pulled in lots of different directions. Mel, could you just tell us a little bit more about Eli, because he is definitely a man who's pulled in different directions.
Eli is a good guy doing a dirty job. He is a posh boy. He comes from a diplomatic family, and he was educated in schools. He went to lots and lots of different schools, and I have him in my mind going to the same school as Antony Blinken, which is in Paris. So he has that similar background and education. And he's personally a bit of an outsider because he likes fine food, opera. He didn't go to the same. When he was in the army, he wasn't in the same unit as some of his peers who tend to go into a unit which is like the SAS. So he hasn't got that background. He has more of a diplomatic background. And as I said, he's a good guy doing a dirty job, which is compromising him.
So, Mel, you obviously know Israel very well, and your Mossad depiction seems to me to be incredibly authentic. Can you just talk us a little bit through making the decision to make Mossad your main agency, but also then how you find that authenticity in your writing?
The choice of Mossad was expedient because I didn't feel confident enough to write about the CIA or MI6 in the way that other people have done. And also, although having said that, I was very, very impressed by what Tom Rob Smith did with the KGB, and I think that's in Child 44, which I think is an incredible book, and it's historical as well. So I wrote the book. The book was the first book, The Righteous Spy, was part of what I was supposed to be doing for an MA at the University of East Anglia in crime fiction, and I had to. The job was to write. You had to choose which genre within crime or subgenre within crime you wanted to write in, and I chose to write espionage. And I chose to write espionage because I've, like lots and lots and lots of people, I've always been interested in spy fiction from when I started reading Somerset Maugham, the Ashenden books, which were a great early influence of mine. And I love the idea, and I know I'm going off on a tangent, of just these really hopeless, useless agents. And that's something which I've sort of like kept in my work. And I don't know if you know the books, but Ashenden is going around the lakes picking up information from these like really pathetic people. Anyway, so in terms of Israel, the reason was, I'm a Jew. So I thought, okay, I can write about a Jewish agency with some authenticity. And I do have family in Israel, and I do have friends in Israel. I don't actually know Israel that well. And during the course of writing the first book, I was struggling a lot in the beginning, and I was trying to get my ideas from other fiction writers. So I obviously looked very closely at Le Carre, at Graham Greene, and then Dayton, because I love their work, and looking at the Cold War. And I was trying to sort of pluck their plots and make it work for me, and it didn't. And I spent the first 3 months of the course really sweating because I thought I haven't got a story. And then in the Christmas break, I was like desperately looking at the background of, spy stuff. And I found the CIA have a website, and on the website, they have a section where they have book reviews. And I came across a book called Gideon's Spies, which is the inside story of Israel's legendary secret service, the Mossad, by somebody called Gordon Thomas. And that was, for me, it was like a sort of like I bounced off of that into, okay, there are loads and loads of really good stories which I can use, and loads of incredible background and information, which was where I began, and that's when The Righteous Spy actually started to take shape. And the other problem I had, actually, with the first book was I really wanted it to be about a female character, because before I started actually writing anything, I read The Little Drummer Girl by John le Carre. And I felt a fantastic writer as John le Carre was, and brilliant as the Smiley books were. I didn't feel that he wrote either women or Jews particularly effectively. And I had one of those moments of thinking, gosh, I could write a woman character or a Jew more effectively than John le Carre.
But then can I ask why you made the decision to make your main character a man in that case? So, but you then came to the decision to make your main character
Yeah,
a
okay.
naval agent.
Yes. And again, that was slightly expediency because, okay, so as Petra, whose actually original name was Frances, which is a terrible name, I don't know what I was thinking of, she was going to be this amateur spy who gets drawn into the narrative. However, it gave her real motivation issues because if you're an amateur spy, there's always going to be somebody telling you your mission is to go and do whatever it is, and so the character becomes reactive, and you can't have, or I don't want, a reactive protagonist. I want a protagonist who's driving the story. So by various process, it actually, Ellie developed to be the stronger character, and that's what happened. So she is kind of a secondary character, even though I do write it from her point of view as well.
And she is a fabulously written, very strong character, and certainly has agency. So obviously,
getting stronger. Exactly, she's much stronger in Honour Among Spies than she was in The Righteous Spy.
Well, yeah, which is one of the nice things about following it through between the two books is watching the characters in it grow. There's one particular character who I'm quite fond of, who's the sort of handsome playboy Raffi.
We all are. Yeah, Raffi.
Yeah, he's great, and I wouldn't like to go out with the guy, but he's very entertaining on the page.
Yeah. Yes, and I had a lot of fun with Raffi, and I have a lot of fun with her relationship with him because, and he's kind of he is an interesting character, and I find he is an interesting character in the way that he has this sort of, he's very good at his job, he's very focused, he does the job, he doesn't get involved in the politics, that's who he is, and obviously he's not someone that Petra should be in a serious relationship with.
Absolutely. I want to come back to the politics in a minute, but just in terms of the kind of genesis of everything. So then obviously Ellie operates largely in London, which is that another sort of expedient thing? Because
I'm afraid so, yeah, because I know London very well, having lived in London all my life, and yes, it is an expedient thing.
Can I just say, from a personal point of view, I was absolutely delighted to see that there was a meeting in your book between a Mossad agent, Ellie, and a Russian spy in the park where I boringly walk my dog every day. So I was delighted. I thought,
seen them.
Yeah, exactly. All these incredibly tedious conversations I've overheard over years of women talking about, their Pilates classes, and actually there might have been much more interesting things going along under my nose.
Well, on a slightly serious note, well, not that serious note, among the loads and loads of books I have about, spy non-fiction, and I've got a picture of, I'm pretty sure it was either McLean or Philby, and their controller was having a meeting with them out near Box Hill in Surrey. So they came all the, there's no reason why they shouldn't be in, your local park.
No, absolutely. And I shall be looking upon my local park with new eyes. The plot of Honour Among Spies, it was all put together and written, I guess, ahead of October the 23rd, which we need to talk about because obviously then there are things in there that seem subsequently relatively prescient. Can you just talk me through a little bit how you think whether you would have written it differently had it been after October the 23rd? It's such a seminal moment in Israeli history. To have written a book like this before that event that's published after it seems to me to be quite a sort of seismic thing.
Yes, and it's actually October the 7th, and it and not the 23rd. Although did I say
October 23? Sorry, did I say
October 23? Okay, yes, it was seismic, and I finished the draft and submitted it on October the 5th.
Goodness.
And so on October the 6th, I was sort of lying on the carpet, moaning piteously, having sort of got the draft off. And then October the 7th, it all has kicked off, and it is traumatizing, and for everybody. It is, as you say, it is a seismic shift in what is going on. And so I don't know I don't know what I would have done, but anyway, the new book, which I've just started, starts on October the 7th.
Right. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it is, that's what I'm doing now.
Same characters, I assume.
Same characters, exactly. Yeah.
But Ellie, already before October the 7th, I think for those of us who are sort of not on top of Israeli politics, that tension between the sort of very conservative Israeli political thought and the kind of more liberal and the very religious and the not so religious, which has all become more kind of mainstream news after October the 7th. That's all there in the book, because Ellie's kind of quite torn by all of that, isn't it? He's not always convinced he's working for the right side.
No. So when I was writing, this situation between so you have the far right and the settlers, and you have the extreme ultra orthodox people. So they're one group, and then you have the secular Israelis, who are the other group, and that has been going on for some time. This conflict between the two, and that is causing people a lot of concern. And I don't know how closely you've been following it, but for week after week after week, people were demonstrating in Israel because there was a plan to try to control the judiciary. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I think it's even in the opening sequence, I think it's very important that we have solid institutions to protect us collectively against authoritarians and theocracies. So so there's a lot of sort of my political stance in the book.
With new, gentler scented Clorox disinfecting wipes, clean finally smells as good as it feels on everything from lamps to ceiling fans, even on your kid's toy shark. Oh, ouch. Clorox disinfecting wipes, now available in crisp lemon. Find it on Amazon. Clorox, clean feels good.
Meet the computer you can talk to. With Copilot on Windows, working, creating, and collaborating is as easy as talking. Got writer's block? Share your screen with Copilot Vision to help spark inspiration, and use Copilot Voice to have a conversation and brainstorm ideas. Or maybe you need some tech help. With Copilot Vision, Copilot sees what you see. Let Copilot talk you through step-by-step guidance so you can master new apps, games, and skills faster. Try now at windows.com/Copilot.
And that conflict is manifested, I guess, in the book in the relationship between Ellie and the guy who opens the book as his deputy, who is
Nathan.
Who's quite a character.
Yeah, he's actually he is in the Righteous Spy. He does have a job in the Righteous Spy, and he's he's a sort of what I might call a God botherer. And one of these people, who brings God into every conversation. And I don't think it's necessarily, just, Jewish people who do that. Because I have a Christian and, evangelical, and I do think that extreme religious ideas aren't very helpful to peace generally.
No, absolutely. But it does, in terms of the specifics of your book, it does then create an interesting tension for your lead character who, as you say, is a good man trying to operate in a kind of not very good world. Yeah. But it's really interesting quite how many different pressures are playing on him. So there's the pressure of being a Mossad agent in a difficult world, but there's the added pressure of the internal politics, and he's quite ambitious. He's not, he's an ambitious guy. He wants to get on, so he has to learn how to navigate that. And I found all of that fascinating.
Oh, good. Okay. No, I mean, I do like that. And he's not a natural, in terms of internal politics, he's not a natural. So he has to work quite hard at it. And there's another character who's very good at sucking up to the right people. This guy called Harel, and he's one of these sort of slick people who manages to climb up the greasy pole. And I do see, and I have no reason to think otherwise, that there is going to be a corporate environment in this institution, as there are in all institutions.
But that, I think your appreciation of that leads to some lovely details. I think it was in the first book. I don't know why I was so taken with this, but there was a bit where Ellie's in the offices in Tel Aviv, and he notices it's all being rearranged, and there's quite crappy IKEA furniture everywhere.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And yes, and I visualized that. I have no idea whether that's true or not. And I also, in the new book, I've given him a very nice office, because that's the kind of thing Ellie would like, is a nice office.
Yeah, solid, non-Swedish furniture, I suspect, would be his bag. So can you see, obviously UK, I'm quite interested in the idea that you were doing this MA course and that was where you kind of segued into this area of crime. But I mean, you could have chosen any bit of crime. What was it about espionage fiction particularly that drew you, Mel?
Well, okay, in my previous income, I mean, I've had loads and loads and loads of jobs. Okay, I mean, loads of jobs. And at one point I was working for a television news agency. And it was very interesting seeing how, when the news comes in, there are stories behind the news, and I was working at a time when there was lots going on in Lebanon. Mm-hmm. And there were the footage that we see in the UK isn't the same as the footage that actually comes in before it's edited. And there were the horrible things like people getting dead bodies being tied to the back of trucks, being driven around. And that's edited out. And as I said, I've always been interested in news. I've done things to do with, I love factual, I've done, factual entertainment, historical, and this is TV stuff. And the thing about espionage, it was a huge challenge for me. And I love doing things I don't know how to do. I don't know why. And I suppose in terms of the genres that were on the course, they were very. I mean, I'm not really interested. I did have a go at trying to write for The Bill. That TV show.
Yes, I remember The Bill. Yes.
Okay, right. So, and I'm not really interested in procedural, police precinct dramas. They just leave me quite cold. So I wasn't going to do that. I wasn't going to do. There was global thrillers, things. I mean, although I'm a great admirer of Jack Reacher and Lee Child, and I think they're terrific. It's not me. It's not my style. Whereas I think you have to choose the kind of the book that fascinates you. And I besides Le Carré, I'm a great fan of Len Deighton.
Yeah,
and I love. The game Set and Match, the 9-book series, and I really, really love that relationship with his wife. And I love the idea of spies with pensions, this real job that they're doing. And one of the things Le Carré said was that in some interview, he said that when I go down to the tube, I have this sense that I know something that you don't. And that really captured my imagination. So as I said, there were all these reasons when I thought, okay, I'd like to give this a go. Plus the fact, okay, I have to admit to this, that I am, do you remember The Man from U.N.C.L.E.?
I do.
Okay, I am an U.N.C.L.E. agent. Okay, so if you wrote off to, I don't know, wherever it was, the publisher, they sent you a card, and you could put a blue card. And I actually know a very senior TV producer he's an uncle agent as well. So
Brilliant.
there are a few of us around.
Brilliant. Can I? Your background was in screenwriting. Then, do you think that was helpful when it came to writing novels? Did you have to relearn anything technically?
Hugely helpful in structure, and I do plan it like, I do think about it visually, which is obviously what you do in a screenplay. And before I did the MA at UEA, I also actually did an MA in screenwriting and research. So I'm a sort of, a bit of a student type of person.
Yeah.
And so I found that very, very useful. And I don't think, I can't imagine I would have been able to do it without the craft stuff, because it's just too difficult.
I think spy novels particularly do tend to have so many different strands and so many different sort of, potential rabbit holes and red herrings and kind of twists, that to not be a planner, I think, would be quite difficult. I
am a planner, and I consider myself to be not just a planner but a bit of a plumber, because I'm in of how to sort of fix stories, and when stories aren't quite working. And my default is comedy, and I spent 5 years working for BBC Comedy Commissioning, analysing scripts. And so I do read things quite carefully and break them down and then analyse them, and then I can stick them back together again. So yes, I read manuals, and if I do get the IKEA thing, and then I take everything out and lay it out. So I don't start writing until I'm pretty clear about where it's going, because I find it too frightening.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can definitely see that in the novels. They're so beautifully sort of structured and put together, and they hang so well.
Thank you.
And I was also fascinated in this one. There are sort of two related questions. Is that the relationship between Ellie and his wife, I think, is a very interesting thing. And in this new novel, as you said in your intro, he has to sort of he compromises their relationship for his job, which I thought was very interesting. Did you? Can you just tell me a little bit about that? But before you do, as you're quite a visual person and a kind of screenwriter person, do you have, is there an actor in your head playing Ellie when you act that scenes?
Yes. Right. My Ellie is Leo Raz from Fauda. Do you know?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Even down to the scar. Okay, if you watch Fauda, you'll see, he's not the same character, but he's got that look. He's like a sort of like not a tall guy. So that's who that's who I had in my mind when I was writing it. Yes.
Brilliant. And his relationship with Gal?
Yeah. So when I finished the first book, the publisher said to me, "Do you have ideas?" I always thought of it as a series, and again, that's a television thing, because you always are thinking, you just get into the habit of thinking of things as series. And so I said yes, and I sort of sent them 20, again, a telly thing, I in one paragraph of like story ideas. And one of the ideas was this idea that his wife, who I've she is this brilliant child psychologist, and was that he betrays her, and he has to because I just thought it was a really interesting problem for him. So it's a story I wanted to tell, and I was really pleased about how that comes out. Because it's obviously very central to the book, and it's the core. It's the core of the narrative for me.
Mm. But it's difficult to do, because one thing that's quite difficult for you to do, I know you said he's a good guy doing dirty things. You have to keep our sympathy with Ellie even when he's betraying people he loves, and that's quite hard, isn't it?
Yeah, well, she's being a little unreasonable. I mean, I'm talking from Ellie's perspective, and the thing actually, which strikes me when I think about it is she can't understand what he does because she doesn't do it. And thematically, the book is sort of about how, what you do impacts on your life. And in a way that unless you're a writer, you don't understand what it's like to write. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah.
And so people sort of say to me, "Oh yeah, how's the writing going?" And and it's such a compulsive thing to do, and it's such a intense. Writing is very, very intense, and it's very actually emotional because you're trying to think about what the emotions are of the characters because you're experiencing those emotions yourself. And I think it's very hard for people who don't write to understand how a writer thinks or what they're going through. So what I'm saying is that being a spy obviously affects Ellie. Being a writer, you're always a writer. I mean, if I go to a party and somebody tells me an interesting story about something or other, then I'm thinking, gosh, can I use that?
There's a Le Carré quote I really love where he talks about how writing and spying are very similar because you have to sort of deceive the people that you're near to in the service of a sort of higher power.
And probably be horrible to live with, actually.
Yeah, well, I'm sure my husband would concur.
Mine too.
And in terms of spy writers, you've mentioned Le Carré and Len Dayton. Are there any others that you draw inspiration from?
Well, as I said, Ashenden was a very early.
Yes, yeah.
And I love those short stories, and Graham Greene, and I love how he writes. And again, that was a big early influence. And more recently, I love. Have you read Charles Beaumont?
Yes.
That is fantastic. And I've just read I.S. Berry's book, which is brilliant. I mean, there's lots of, and of course Charles Cumming, and Alex Gurlis. There's lots of really amazing spy books around. And I think, the bad news is it's because everything's so febrile at the moment, is that there's lots and lots to write about. So that's the unfortunate side of it, because I think there was probably a hiatus after the Soviet Union collapse, and people were sort of, when we were all going to when it was all going to be okay, there were less interesting stories to write about, spy stories.
Yeah, I think that's I completely hear that. The collapse of the Soviet Union, there was that whole Francis Fukuyama, this is the end of history kind of moment where we thought, the triumph of liberal democracy. Yes, it turns out that we're still fighting just different enemies, I guess.
Yes, exactly. But as I said, that's fantastic. That's amazing. Material to write about.
It's all copy, Mel. It's all copy.
It is all copy. It is. Yeah. Do you know the Nora Ephron quote?
Yeah, Nora Ephron's brilliant. Yeah,
exactly. Apparently, when when she was dying or her mother was dying, she just said, "Take notes, take notes."
Brilliant. Well, on that note, Mel, that's been absolutely fascinating. Thank you so much. And I would just urge anybody who hasn't read Ellie's adventures to dive in, because I found them completely fascinating. And as I said, that sort of level of authenticity, that kind of sense that you're being initiated into a world was absolutely extraordinary. So thank you for that.
Pleasure, and thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to follow, tweet, spread the word, so that we can keep bringing you more brilliant writers talking about spies. Don't miss an episode of the Spymasters podcast.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here, wishing you a very happy half-off holiday, because right now Mint Mobile is offering you the gift of 50% off unlimited. To be clear, that's half price, not half the service. And Mint is still premium unlimited wireless for a great price. So that means a half day, yeah? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.